2026 is just getting started, and there's a lot to look forward to here at South Colony. So before we talk about what's to come this year, let's take a look back at some of our biggest moments of 2025. In the fall, our senior football players recognized and appreciated their teachers for all they do for them in and out of the classroom. Last year, 26 teams had 75% of their roster earning 90 or above GPAs. That qualified them to be recognized by the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Teams of Excellence. In late November, 8 talented Colony Central High School musicians were invited to perform in the area All-State Music Festival at Proctor's Theater. Throughout the wintertime, we held our 19th annual Toys for Tots campaign. We're proud to report that our students collected an astounding 3,000 toys to give to children in need. Wow, what a great 2025. As we look forward to 2026, we're here in this wonderful space, the Lacia Kill Auditorium. Just look around, the outstanding acoustics, the lighting, the revamped stage. What do you think of this new facility?
It's amazing. The whole system that we have here, between the booth here, the lighting, the rigging, the beautiful LED lights, it's amazing.
I can't get over how spacious it is. It's completely a remade over space that's really going to accommodate student needs.
It doesn't feel like a middle school auditorium at all. It feels like you could have a Broadway show here. It's beautiful.
As in all years, our emphasis on student academic success. So I want to talk a little bit to Mr. Cacciadarian about what we're emphasizing this year at the elementary, middle, and high school. So why don't we kick it off, Tom, with a little bit about what our expectations and emphasis is on at the elementary levels.
Absolutely. We're really excited about early intervention and our literacy approach. We're making some good headway with changes in curriculum and adopting some new programs. Teachers are getting onboarded with that, and it's coming down the pipeline for some CRB projects moving forward for next year. And we're really looking forward to what's going to be the changes, how do we implement that consistently across all 5 buildings, and how that's going to have a positive impact not only on literacy, but also on whole student performance and making sure that those skills translate into real life opportunities for our students. And then from there, we're looking at some SEL and some really creative solutions to try and help students learn a little bit more about self-management and help them with their own growth mindset. And those are the things that our student population is really starting to grab onto. We've seen some really good results from our eye care programming. That's trickled down into our student performances into the middle school, and we're trying to replicate that as much as possible. So some exciting things that we're on the precipice of, and we're looking forward to trying to provide our student population with even more opportunity as we lay out the portrait of a graduate. And that's going to start obviously in 12th grade and move its way on down. And we're looking at some of those things to come into play when we get into middle school and move on up to meet at that 8th and 9th transition year. Things like financial literacy and things like culturally sustainable education, as well as our climate education that we've been rolling out. Stephen,
Talked a little bit about social emotional learning, SEL, at the elementary level and how that transitions students up to success at the middle levels. So specifically, as we transition up to the middle school levels, we're starting to get involved with eye care and things like that. What are we doing academically different at the middle school levels in 5th and 6th grade to prepare students for those content areas in 7th and 8th grade?
Yeah, we're looking at actually how we can, and we just had a conversation recently about this, how we can try and have hybrid approaches of understanding not only is learning ELA and the qualities and skills within ELA a nice skill as a standalone, but also something that is a core replication in all of our content areas. So not only are we specialists in one aspect, but we also become folks that can learn how to be hybrid specialists, and we can look at how science and social studies and everything has its own layer of overlap when we accumulate these skills so we can become proficient citizens.
So we're going to talk now a little bit on the portrait of a graduate, and that may mean a lot of things to a lot of different people and what that transition plan looks like. It's not just a changeover of Regents exams and the Regents curriculum, but it's really an emphasis on opportunities for kids and changing the pathways for them to be successful and demonstrate their academic achievements. So talk a little bit about, Tom, why don't you kick it off?
Sure.
What does the portrait of a graduate mean in South Colony?
To me, I try and simplify because it can be so many different things, but I think of a true portrait of a graduate as a Colony citizen that is confident, that is competent, that is collaborative. And the big thing that I'm trying to push in my communication when I get to talk with the educators in and around the district is is just about curiosity and leading to discovery, and then leading to taking chances on oneself and being okay with failure, and then also wrestling with the difficulty of resiliency and learning how to master that. And then on the other side of it, it is, what am I able to be competent at, and how do I turn that back over to the world to make that a better place in which I can live and my family can live. I mean, that's what, in the core of it all, that's really what I want to try and generate and create for the Feeling Up, the Colony Portrait of a Graduate.
Yeah, and as a parent, I've had 3 children graduate and go off to college, and some in the early part of their career. So it's awesome to see the progress they make from elementary students right up through high school and things like that. But you start to reflect on what they gained while they were in school and the experiences they gained. The experiences that students are graduating with now are better than they were even 5 years ago. Talk a little bit about that, Chris. Your children are going through middle school and high school now, and Jacqueline, you've got an elementary and a high school student. Tommy, your daughters are in high school. What does it mean for them to work through and be a graduate in New York State in these upcoming years?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think of the brand. You know, when you think of a portrait of a graduate from the highest level down in the beginning of this conversation, it's like you mentioned, Dr. Perry, what does a high school graduate from New York look like? What is that brand? If they go off outside of New York, what are they bringing to the rest of the world as a high school graduate from New York? You peel it back a layer, and what does it mean to be a high school graduate from Colony compared to our neighboring districts? What does that Colony graduate bring to the workforce, to whatever job or whatever community event they're volunteering to? Who are they as people? And you can pull it back, you know, a little bit further if you want, into what, as a parent, I'm trying to instill in my own children as the brand of what they leave outside of my house. So you're kind of putting all these, it's a collage now. It's more than just a portrait. It's like, what am I doing as a parent? What is the school doing for my child when they're there? And what is New York State saying as far as what their expectations are of a graduate? And maybe it's a little bit too big picture for my kids to comprehend right now, but when I think of it, it's all those little pieces coming together to figure out what type of person, both character-wise and professionally motivated, is my child going to be when this journey comes to an end, when they're in a team.
I see it as some of our investment in students, whether they want to go on to colleges or into the trades. The value of those students that are going out into trades, our CTE programs, the programs we have in-house now, is tremendous. And I think the narrative is changing. It's okay to go into those trades and prepare students for excellent careers as a result. I know that your husband works in trades. We see it every day as we're working with the various contractors that are helping to build our school buildings and things like that. How important it is to have skilled tradespeople. And what do you think about the opportunities for students nowadays?
Yeah, I think that it wasn't as popular back when my husband graduated. He did go to a 2-year college and ended up back where he would have gone if he went right out of high school. So the opportunities that our students have today to go into a trade in a union, whether it's union or non-union, but the pathway that our students have to have that exposure and have those unions come in and talk to the students in, Mrs. Meesik's classroom at the high school, and even talking to them in the middle school about what that looks like in the high school and then beyond. I think not everybody is built for college. And even if you are, maybe it's not how you want to, sit in an office all day like we do. Well, we go out and about all the time, but, maybe you're not built for that. And maybe you're built for that physical activity all day long, and the busyness of it, and building something and seeing something tangible in front of you. I know that's what my husband loves about being in a trade, is you can see what you built. Like, the people who built this beautiful auditorium can come in and say, I built this. I mean, we were behind the scenes and making sure that everything went according to plan, but you need those people too. But I think that the trade pathways that we're working on and giving the opportunities, with the BOCES programs that we have, and even in-house. My son even yesterday says, I want to sign up for wood tech. He's taking DDP, but he wants to do wood tech too. So I think that's just being able to build something with your hands is really important to some people.
Yeah, and I also think there's that balance between learning that specific trade, but you also need to have a business acumen. You need to understand estimating skills. You need to know how chemicals may react in a certain setting, whether you're pouring concrete or helping to remove asbestos. And so all those aspects and opportunities that kids are now having in high school through the CEIP program, through our partnerships with area businesses, are going a long way. I just learned today we have an internship with one of our assembly members' offices. So that opportunity in high school was never for myself back in the 80s, and certainly not for my children who graduated within the last decade. But to see that opportunity for students now and into the future is exciting. I think that's what the Portrait of Graduate gives, an opportunity to really enhance your opportunities of what you want to do and where those pathways will take you.
No, I agree. Tom and I were talking about it yesterday, I think. Yeah. Just that same fact. When we were in school, if you thought about a career, you may tell your school counselor, this is what I think I want to do. And they would steer you on a path to a college that may offer that opportunity, but you really didn't get your hands dirty, for lack of better terms. You didn't really get to see if it was something you enjoyed doing. And with the CEIP programs and the other pathways that exist, now you can get some experiences as a student and figure out if this is for me or not. Like you mentioned before, my children, they will have that opportunity in high school to maybe test the waters in what they want to do for a career. We were hoping, we threw a dart on a board and hoped we hit something that we enjoy doing for the rest of our lives. And that certainly has been a significant change. And even if you're looking at the most competitive of schools and the most competitive of degrees to be in, your experiences on your resume are just as important as your scores in the classroom. Mm-hmm. They are looking for people who put in the time to learn about whether it's film production, or if you're interested in being a politician or a doctor or a lawyer. They're looking for people who went out on their own and found experiences to build their resume, and then they look at them as like real quality candidates to bring into their institution because they've done the work and they know they want to do it. It's way different.
And that's the importance. When we were growing up, we only knew of a few core jobs that were available to us, like the doctor or the lawyer or a teacher. And now we're getting that exposure to a variety of so many other professional fields. And it is really enlivening for us to be able to show that to students and then firsthand have them experience it, which I think is that's the enriching exposure that we're able to provide. And that's the forward thinking that we need to continue to push at for our students.
And I think it's something that Colony actually has done really well for a long time. I went into not this field starting out of high school. I go, I took all of the graphic design and video production classes in high school, which made me fall in love with graphic design. So I went into print media after high school at RIT, and I don't do that anymore. But I found my love for business actually through that path. We didn't talk a lot about business or in a way back then, but the things that we did have, which we still have, is all of our great tech department. So the fact that we've expanded that to other areas and giving those pathways to other students has really been a great thing for our school.
You touched upon a great topic. What does the future hold for business and financial literacy in South Carolina?
Business started off as almost nothing about 5 years ago, coming off the heels of it existing prior. But now we've grown from a 0.5 to a 1.0 FTE. We're at a 1.5 now. We're probably going to have 2 business teachers in conjunction with a variety of business courses that are being offered by some of our dual certified math and business teachers. So I think we're going to just keep seeing that grow, and we want to make sure the students are proficient at the financial side of being an adult. And it's super important that every one of our students has that exposure to that curriculum.
Then that's going to trickle down to the middle school and elementary.
Yes, it is.
For financial literacy and preparing kids how to handle monies in a different manner. It's no longer just coin and paper. It's looking at what does interest mean and how do you manage a budget from elementary students right up through middle and high school.
And put that into real experiences with club-to-club exposure, with our business club partnering up with some of our life skills programs, just to help everyone see the overlap of the skills that they're attaining.
Thank you. So, Chris, you're a former high school principal. How important is it to get those incoming freshmen, that transition period from 8th to 9th, and get off to a good start both academically and character-wise, prepared for the high school?
Yeah, it's such a significant year for students to transition from the middle school to the high school. We have great programs in place to help prepare students, but it is a two-pronged approach. It is the academic piece, and it's also the social emotional piece. When we talk to our students about what makes them the most nervous about going to the high school, it's the size. We're not talking necessarily about the academic piece yet because they haven't lived it, but it's the size, how scary that building is being so big. So getting students into the building, getting them comfortable in the environment definitely will allow for that academic piece to be a little bit more natural and go, oh, I get it. They've prepared me in middle school for the schoolwork. Now I'm used to the size of this building and they can be successful.
Chris, I know as a parent, some of the concerns you have is leaving that elementary environment or leaving that cultural safety of a middle school environment and going to the high school and things like that. From a safety perspective, what do we do at each level to ensure consistency of practices and approaches?
Yeah, I think consistency is the most important word there. It starts with our facilities and making sure that they're sound and consistent across the district. Having less keyed entries and more key fob entries is significant for our staff, getting kids in and out of the building, recess, beginning of the school day, end of the school day, those types of things. Vestibules, how people enter our buildings is significant. We're working on our final vestibule right now at Shaker Road. How visitors get into a building provides a sense of, I think, comfort to our families when they see that they are vetted in a level that is appropriate for a parent to visit a building. And then if someone is not supposed to be there, that there's a process behind how they do not get into the building. I think that's part of safety.
And Jacqueline, you wear multiple hats. In our district, you're not only our assistant superintendent for management services, but you're also a parent. Mm-hmm. So you've seen those transitions in each of the buildings as your children have gone from elementary to middle to high school. As a parent, what have you seen in those transitions that have helped your children be successful at each level?
Yeah, as Chris mentioned, the transition from 8th to 9th, my son just went to the high school and he's loving it. The size was a little intimidating at the beginning, but all of the pieces that we did over the summer for the orientations that are in place are really helpful to the students to get acclimated to the high school. And I think that was an extremely helpful piece, and he's loving the high school at this point. My daughter will be transitioning from Beater to Leishakil next year, and I know that we'll have those transition nights as we come up going into the coming year. But I do believe that with the upgrades that we've made to Shaker Road's vestibule and the experiences that you have at each of the secured vestibules is really important, and seeing the differences between the buildings, going between them and experiencing them as a parent versus how you experience them as staff has really helped me to develop the processes with Chris and with all of you on how we make sure that those parents and visitors enter our buildings.
And for those that may not know your day job, it is to help fund those programs and make sure we have the appropriate resources in place, manage the budget, and help us develop the future budget. So how do we sustain programming? How do we meet the needs at the elementary, middle, and high school levels for academic improvement, but also at the same point in time, manage our day-to-day operations?
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. So we strategically look at all levels, making sure that we're providing the resources that we need for each of the programs. So as we look at the elementary, we meet with all elementary principals, making sure that everybody has what they need for staffing, for supplies, for equipment, and then their facility needs as well. So making sure that we're planning ahead for facility needs. We're in our building condition survey, which is required by the state this year. So once we come out of that, we'll know what our next phase would look like if we needed to do another project. So, but as we're working on this one, the project is making sure that we're getting through all of the former building condition survey issues that we may have in our buildings, but upgrading the facilities and making sure that we're planning ahead on those things is really important. And then as we get through each level of the school, we meet with our middle school principals, make sure that the content area specialists are involved. So we make sure that our curriculum, resources, textbooks, software, all of that, those pieces are in place. All of the pieces that our teachers need to be effective in the classroom, and then all of our facilities and food service and transportation, all of that is a big part of making sure that we're providing the right resources for our students and our families in in the schools. And then as we get to the high school, it's meeting with the high school principal, making sure that all of the content areas there are covered, we have all the resources we need there. And those are planning ahead on those, having sustainable programming that we can do from year to year. We don't want fluctuations in classes that we offer, or making sure that what we're adding we can sustain. So we want to make sure that we're going through things with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we can plan for the future aspect.
So academically throughout our presentation, we're going to have more information and more data to share, but let's shift gears a little bit towards our second pillar, which is wellness. Our emphasis on social emotional wellness and improvement for not only our students but our staff has been an emphasis over the last several years coming out of COVID. Tom, can you talk a little bit about that social emotional learning? What does that look like? SEL, that term at the elementary and middle school level, and how does that tie into what we do at the high school level?
Yeah, and the simplest form, SEL, is really about relationships. It's about connecting that bridge between our educators and our student population, and just making sure that school is a place where there's a sense of belonging, where there's self-worth, and students can derive for themselves who they want to become. And they have a lot of good, supportive, guiding hands. At our disposal, we have a wealth of support mechanics that we have in place. So that could be our social workers, it can be our school psychologists, certainly our teachers in the classroom, as well as our administrators. They're all there to provide that guiding hand to make sure that our students can look inwardly and try and discover for themselves who they really want to be, and give them a lot of good modeling along the way so that they can discover, where that pathway for their future is going to go.
And some things come with a cost. Things like Second Step was a investment that we made to emphasize the supports in the classroom at the elementary and middle school level. But eye care in and of itself has been organically grown through our students each and every year, and through our support from our leadership teams and our community. How has that become effective in really helping high school students become part of their overall culture?
Absolutely. Eye care was kind of born well over a decade ago, and it was kind of trying to meet the needs of a changing culture that was happening in and among the high school population. There was a lot of negativity that was going on. It was an economic downtime, and unfortunately, our student population was starting to feel that. So we tried to create, between Mr. Robolati and myself, a forum for students to find that and create that sense of belonging and really start to cultivate leadership. And we looked at the core elements of what did we want from an adult perspective of the students that were going to be graduating from Colony. What are the core values that we wanted inherently to try and teach them along the way of all the other curricular resources we provided them with? And that led us down to integrity, community, accountability, respect, and empathy. Those core values continue to drive the foundation of really what the high school is, and it's become something that's statewide and nationally recognized for the contributions that it puts forward, particularly with county ventures, the partnerships that we're able to forge with them, and look to where's their need and where does our student population really have an opportunity to grow, develop their own leadership skill, and also learn how to be assets and resources once they return to that community as adults.
Chris, expand a little bit about what we've done as a district to manage the health and wellness of students in terms of crisis interventions, crisis response. I know you've been in charge of that committee to make sure that our practices are consistent throughout the levels, getting our school psychologists and social workers and counselors on the same page.
Yeah, and I think the first and most important thing that we did in bridging all those stakeholders together was including Dr. Judge on the Safe Schools Committee, so that every time we get together as a committee, we're getting input and feedback from the district-wide mental health committee on what they're doing and what's going on in the buildings. Mental health is as much a part of the safety in our schools as anything else, especially when we're talking about our students and our staff. So including them in the Safe Schools Committee was a very important step, not just aesthetically, like, oh, look what we did, that's nice. It's really great information that the rest of the committee gets to hear, and we can kind of piece things together, K-12, when it comes to our priorities as a Safe Schools Committee. Mental health is definitely on the list. From the perspective of how we handle crisis situations, not to continue to say the word consistency over and over, but it's really important, especially in an organization this large, 1,000 employees and 5,400 students district-wide. We have to be thoughtful about how we respond and react to very, at times, stressful, but also very tragic situations that may occur with our families. And we have worked very hard to respond in a consistent and thoughtful manner so that every student and every family gets a similar experience if they're going through a very tough time. And that comes from the school social workers, the school psychologists, the teachers, the principals. We've all worked really hard, and in conjunction with our media team, to really make sure, our public relations team, making sure that our communications and our actions and the ability for our community to connect with us during these times is the same no matter what you're going through.
Jacqueline, your department analyzes the data on risk management and accident reports. Because talk a little bit about what that data does for us in terms of helping with decision making, providing additional resources where necessary. What do you do with that information?
Yeah, my department sees all of the student accident forms, any staff accident or incident forms, and when we look at the any incidents that occur in the building, we react and or look and see and react to those pieces. If I see consistently in a building where maybe there's a slip and fall or something like that, we want to make sure that we're cleaning up the spill very quickly and using the data to make better decisions moving forward. So we also, in some of our special needs classes, have implemented PPE or protective equipment for our staff that may encounter maybe some students that may, bite or hit, and to protect our staff is really important. So as we see those incident reports coming in, we can react to those and make better decisions for the safety of all of our staff and students.
Yeah, so certainly providing the appropriate gear, but training is certainly a big aspect. Chris, your department oversees our staff development and training in terms of safe schools and things like that. So how has that training evolved since the beginning of your career to modern days?
Well, when I started my career so many years ago, and even halfway through my career, the acronym TCIS didn't really mean anything to me at the time. Now it's something that we want, if not as many staff members as we can possibly go through that training, which provides very in-depth opportunity to learn more about de-escalation with students, whether that just be verbal and or physical. And at the completion of that program, there's also an opportunity to become certified in restraint training, which unfortunately has to occur sometimes in classrooms to keep people safe. Only reason we would restrain a kid is for safety. Training in the TCIS capacity, which we've grown internally. We have our own trainers, kind of turnkey train the trainer model. We have a whole team of our own staff who can train more staff members. The challenge becomes time. It's a very time-consuming training, and we all have other jobs that we do throughout the school year. So to find the right moments to have those trainings occur, they're about 4 days a piece. We ought to utilize the summer and also break weeks and things like that. In addition to TCIS, as I oversee the different types of trainings that come through PD Express and opportunities for staff is definitely looking for those opportunities, and we approve them and support them to go on evenings and weekends to go get additional training so that they're feeling comfortable, prepared, and proactive when it comes to situations in our hallways and classrooms.
Yeah, and I think that our training for staff has evolved. Our training for students have evolved from mandated fire drills to mandated fire drills and emergency evacuation type drills. It certainly has come a long way for safety and security of our students. So
yeah, and I think in addition to the preparation and the response and the training that goes into those drills, there's also a much more focused concern on education in those opportunities from kindergarten all the way up to our seniors. When we do drills, it comes with a level of education of why we're doing it, what may be different in a real situation versus this drill situation, and how you should respond, and who are the people that you may see if this were a real situation. So that muscle memory and expectations in those crises, in those high tense moments, we're prepared for those. And that's changed a lot over the last 10 years too.
We're going to switch gears a little bit and focus on our third pillar, character. And character means a lot of different things, but in simple terms, it's doing the right things when others are not watching you. And we try to emphasize that with our staff for consistent practices. We try to emphasize that with our students each and every day. What are some of the things that we do to help develop character? Starting at the elementary school, I know we've got themes of the month. We continue to talk about empathy and kindness. Let's expand about that. Tom, you want to kick that one off?
Yeah, I think our elementary schools are almost the model for how to do that. It is something that is presented at the beginning of the month, as you had mentioned, and it continues on in theme, and it's not forgotten about. And it's something certainly that the adults there, they push the emphasis on it through their modeling and through how they present themselves for our younger population to be able to see what is the right reflection of who I want to be. And that's something that's super important as we see a lot of diminishing ability as students are coming to us early on in pre-K and kindergarten. Of those skills are something we have to enhance. Those skills that we have to really dedicate our time and our resources toward making a stronger student body population to understand how they're going to move forward and be, again, contributing citizens for the greater Colony area. So I think it's really important that as we make our way into from the elementary realm into the middle school realm, that those themes of being compassionate, being empathetic, understanding what it's like to walk through somebody else's shoes, and be able to be reflective about how we respond to certain moments. That's really paramount for us to be able to be a better version of ourselves. And always giving a student, as we used to say as principals, giving a student, if they've made a bad decision, an opportunity to make a better one, and providing those resources and opportunities for those kids to really see in a reflective sense how they can be a better version of themselves each and every day.
Yeah, and I think we try to do that as role models in our educational system, and we're human beings as well. So if we make mistakes, we try to own up to those and find better ways. I know in human resources, we're always working with our staff to make good decisions, make better decisions. That comes with proper training, resources, and support from all levels. Additionally, for character, things that we do throughout to emphasize that, we are often have times presenting ourselves out into the community as forward-facing. So talk a little bit about our groups that go out to various job sites. We're going out to various community events and what South County does to help promote character within the community setting.
Sure. Certainly from a CEIP standpoint, and when we're talking about some of our older students, as they make their way through that curriculum, they learn a lot about the soft skills, if you'll call it that, and they learn about the importance and the nature of just being humanized and affording kind of that open door policy of being able to connect with other people and to make it a genuine and authentic kind of experience for one another. And with that, that opens more opportunity for them, in the workforce and as a career skill. And that's something that we certainly want to trickle down through and model as our older students have the opportunity then to work in the middle schools and the elementary schools with our younger population. They're turnkeying that approach, and we're affording just Colony citizens to continue to move forward and be the ones that direct this great community.
Chris, talk a little bit about growing our own. We've had staffing challenges, as all schools and all employers have post-COVID, but we've made emphasis to try to grow our own. The teaching assistant program is a great example. Talk a little bit about how that has impacted our ability to staff during summer months and off times.
When Tom was the principal of the high school, he did a lot of work with pathways. And one of the pathways was a teaching pathway. Students in our high school who were looking to become educators down the road, we were able to take that pocket of students who were interested in being teachers and kind of fast track them into getting teaching assistant certifications right out of high school. They worked with their teacher, I think it was Miss Hutchins, and they worked with Mrs. Misek in the CCP, and they made their way through the workshops. They took the ATEST exam. They paid for the certification. They did all the things that they needed to do prior to graduating to become certified TAs. It's one area that we've certainly struggled over the years to not just fill during the school years, big commitment, which we knew these students really wouldn't be candidates for that because they're all going off to school, college for the next 2 or 4 years. But in the summertime, well, we do need more hands on deck with our summer programming, whether it's in the special education summer program or our summer academy with the little ones doing English and math. We have had on an average in the last 3 years, 8 to 12 high school graduates, we even call them seniors, graduates, who went right into our summer programming and worked for us. In addition to that, another bonus is they come back on their breaks and they work as substitute teachers, which is another area where we struggle every day to get enough people in our buildings to run our daily programming. So it's been a great success for us on the staffing end, but also giving these students who one day want to be teachers unbelievable opportunities to get experience and really find if this is their passion or not. And I don't have exact data, but I feel like they're all very happy with their experiences and are probably still going to be teachers.
Yeah, and I think the development of their character coming up through the ranks makes them want to come back and give back to our individual schools. And it makes me proud to hire alumni and to see alumni be successful. But there's a cost to investing in that and things like that. So, Jacqueline, talk a little bit about what we do to help support not only those grow your own type programs from a financial aspect, but what does that look like in our investment in the summer programs when we have Summer Academy and those opportunities?
During and after COVID, we expanded our Summer Academy program to include more students throughout the summer, and to be able to sustain that after the kind of COVID monies ran out, the pandemic relief funds, after those ran out, we are working on keeping those extra slots, as you would, available for some students that can use that extra programming. During the summer months, we have, as Chris mentioned, we have multiple programs. We have our summer school at one of our middle schools for our high school programs, and we have our summer academy for our elementary students, and then we have our special education program. And while some of the special education program is funded by the state and federal government with some aid, our other programs are all funded in-house. So we plan for those every year. We budget for those programs every year, and we look at what the needs are, and then we work around those. So we want to make sure every year that we're planning ahead on what that next summer will look like.
Very good. Very good. So planning is certainly one of the key aspects towards forward-thinking success. We talked about the portrait of the graduate. We're planning for the future. We're trying to find ways to not only budget for that, but to sustain that planning. Let's switch gears a little bit, talk a little about South Colony, the community. We're really proud of our participation. This is the 19th year that we participated in the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots, helping to raise over 3,000 toys for our area students during the holidays time period. But it goes far beyond that when we talk about community involvement, from Pack Fest to Homecoming, the chili cook-off. Tom, what are some of the things that you're most proud of that you see our students do in the community? Talk a little about the Albany Housing Partnership.
I was going right there. Albany Housing Coalition is a great partnership this year. We're trying to make our students more aware, really, of what are the resources that are out there in our county and how they can get involved, not only from a student population standpoint, but as they mature and become adults. These are still resources that need that kind of replenishment. They need that volunteers or those series of volunteers that can come and make that a successful program. So making them kind of aware of the program, how they can contribute to it, getting them exposure there so they can get volunteer hours and interact with the personnel that obviously operate out of Albany Housing Coalition, and just learn more about leadership as, you know, as a capacity and a skill. That's a really important thing that we can provide our students with that exposure to. And they can look within and not necessarily discover themselves or think of themselves as a leader from the beginning. But once you get them into these leadership opportunities, if they have to lead a certain segment of our chili cook-off, if they have to plan a certain event that goes on with PACFest, they start to discover and awaken within themselves that they have the ability to not only do things that are great for the community, but lead their peers along that journey. And that's what we want to continue to provide an opportunity for our student population, for them to see the reflection of themselves change over the course of the 4 years with us in the high school.
Excellent. Chris, I know you've got a connection as an alumni. Your dad's an alumni, and you had a unique opportunity in the past summers to reconnect with some of our veteran alumni and bring them back into the fold. Talk a little bit about that impact in the community, how important it was to connect the past to the future, and also what it was like to see some of those participants in the Hall of Fame inductions.
Yeah, there's a group of graduates, alumni from, let's say, the late 60s, early 70s that get together annually at Cook Park. And it's so much fun to listen to the stories of their high school years. And some of the individuals that they talk about were also educators. When I was in school, there's like this bridge, like, my father was an alum. He was coached by some of the same people that I was coached by, which is pretty cool. And at the same time, some of those coaches and even some of his classmates were getting inducted into, which is relatively new still, the Athletic Hall of Fame. There's so much excitement and joy for them to see the acknowledgement that they get from their peers for that great time in their life. I mean, they're there for 4 or 5 hours. They could probably be there for 4 or 5 days, just sharing stories about how much fun they had. And do you remember this? And do you remember that? I'm just a fly on the wall. I get introduced as, John's son, but I'm just listening to story after story, and it's really impressive. And then you bring them into a real ceremony like we have in the auditorium at the high school when someone's getting inducted, and they stay after and they tell the same stories again and again. They have so much pride. And I would say, of all the conversations that I've had, the one that's the most exciting for them is to hear all the changes that we've done to the high school. Because up until a couple of years ago, the locker room that I was in as a student was the same one that they were in as students back in the 60s. So seeing our facilities get upgraded brings them so much joy, and they just want to see it. They want to be in it. They want to look at what the future is at South Colony, even though their past was so enjoyable.
We'll circle back to that in just a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about that connection between the Raiders of the past and the Wolfpack of the present and future. That gathering, that pack mentality, it is strong whether you were a graduate in the 60s or 70s or 80s, or you're a current graduate of the class of 2025, looking forward to our graduating class of 2026. That's what community is about. It's that culture and bringing people together. And we're really proud of the traditions we've had in Colony, and it will continue in that. With that, we've had a real emphasis on the rebranding efforts on our capital project, next generation projects. And can you give us a little bit of an overview of what we've accomplished, Ms. McAllister, and where are we going in the next couple of years?
We have a long list, Dr. Perry. Currently, we're in our Elisha Kill Auditorium, which just finished this fall, and it is a beautiful upgrade to this building. Additionally, in this building, Elisha Kill, we have replaced the entire facade. So that means all the windows, the wall structure of the exterior has been taken down and replaced for safety and security reasons, and for weatherization and better energy management. Each of those classrooms that had that wall done also got new air conditioning and heating systems in it, which are more energy efficient as well as more comfortable for our students. Also in Elisha Kill, we are currently working on locker room upgrades. As we've talked about, we have a lot of original to the buildings, lockers, materials in those spaces, and bringing them into the 21st century is really great. We're upgrading 2 nurses suites currently at Elisha Kill and Shaker Road. They just opened for our students and staff, and those are exciting when we talk about the health and wellness of our students. So those 2 just opened this month, so we're excited to have those students go into a fresh new space. They've been in temp spaces for a little while, so we're thankful for the patience that they've had. As we look at Shaker Road, as I mentioned, 6 new classrooms there, all with gut jobs, full renovation there. It's a beautiful new elementary classrooms that become the model, that will be the model of our new classrooms elsewhere. The whole space is designed with safety and academics in mind, and the wellness of our students. So we're excited that those students are able to experience that this year, and our students and staff at Beater are experiencing some upgrades right now, which are classroom renovations, a brand new library media center there. The timber frame is up, almost finished today. So in the next few weeks, we'll see more work going on in the exterior of the building that's fully exposed at Beater Elementary. But as we go through each building, the upgrades that we're doing is just tremendous. And the community support that we had for this project was overwhelming, and we're really excited as we move forward. So we also have the tremendous upgrades that we've had at the high school. A lot of our focus has been at the high school, where we redid all of the locker room, team rooms. The Mug Gym got a facelift. We upgraded and built a new fitness center there, which you have windows that oversee into the Mug Gym. The new floor paint is the best around, I hear. So we also have our stadium outside, which the Ambrosio Field got a new artificial turf field, very safe and efficient for our students and for our staff. The new bleacher systems, concession stand, scoreboard, beautiful new stadium, also voted best in the area apparently, according to social media. So we'll say that. But inside the building has also gotten some facade upgrades, window replacements, classroom renovations. 30 classrooms were renovated at the high school over the last 2 years. So we're making really great progress. I probably missed a few things, but
One of the important things is we've also air conditioned those spaces. So that's certainly a modernization that is a long time coming, comes with a cost. But the investment we've put out there, and I thank our community for trusting us and investing in us. It goes a long way. We've been able to retain our programming. We've been able to retain our staff. We've shared some data on retention of staff and things like that. I'm in my 30th year in South Colony, so although I didn't graduate from here, I feel as much as part of the community. I know you spent 13 years as a student. You've been back here now for several years as an administrator. Mr. Ketchdarian graduated as well, over 25 years. I don't want to date it. Chris graduated as well. So probably, spent time in these buildings close to 40 years at this point in time between your student era and your teaching and administrative career. So just a great example of what South Colony brings and why it's fun to work here first and foremost, and fun to be part of this community. We're awful proud of that. So thank you.